Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Cinema.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at the Great Wall.
This is a new competitive worker placement style game from company Awakened Realms, who has made games that we have enjoyed before, but those are storytelling cooperative games like Either Fields and Tainted Grail.
Yes.
But today we're taking a look at this one, not the other two. This is the Great Wall. In this game you are a general trying to fight the Mongols, the Genghis Khan army coming, trying to tear down the Great Wall if you have built it. If you haven't built it, they're just gonna tear you apart like they did. So in this game, which is a Euro game, it has a theme. We're not huge on theme, but so that's like the thing. We're gonna go into the theme. So if you're looking for someone talking more about the theme,
not us.
This is not the channel for that.
Moving on.
Yeah, so this is as I said, a worker placement style game. You're gonna play over 4 rounds. You're gonna basically do some upkeep. You're gonna play one of your general command cards and go through the command cards in a chosen order from the players. Those cards usually let you place workers around, do some twisties, special actions, and then you get to activate different worker places to get resources, to get build to build buildings, recruit armies, and do all kind of special actions. You're going to continue doing that during 4 years, building the wall, defending against the hordes coming in on the board, and at the end of the game, obviously the player with the most points is going to be the winner.
Yes.
Before we go more into the gameplay and stuff like that, as always, if you have seen any review we have ever done, let's talk about the artwork and the components.
Yes. First of all, the artwork is amazing.
It is.
I really love it, and it really builds onto the theme in this game. And it's beautiful, it's unique for every player, every faction. And we've also have some deluxe components in our game with amazing miniatures, which are awesome as well.
Yeah, we do have the all-in pledge. We have, and this is a review copy, just so that you know that.
Yes.
But we are going to focus on the base game, so we're not going to take into account the playmat or the I know the miniature is probably going to be in the retail copy. There is a miniature and a maple version. I think the miniature is going to be the retail version.
Yeah, cool.
So just so you know that the miniatures are, as always, really good.
Yes, and they look stunning. And most of the symbols in the game is very easy to understand. And it's overall, despite it looking very good, it's also very easy to have like an overview of all that's happening on the table.
Yeah, and I really love the artwork and everything. Like in our box, which is the miniature version, there's no way to put the walls assembled back into the box. That's like a minor little hassle, just so you know. If you are one of those persons who gets super annoyed by having to do something for 3 minutes, putting that together again, then you will be annoyed by this because there's no room for that. But there's not actually a lot, this game is very big and there's not actually that much of a setup to it.
Yeah,
so when you set it up, if you are 2 players, if 1 player, or if you're 3 players, even better, if 2 players do the actual setup on the board and you put together the walls, you're gonna be finished at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's really not that much of a hassle, but it's one thing that it does when there's assembly involved. I do enjoy being able to put that back into the box without taking it apart, but not a very big problem.
Yes.
Let's talk about a bigger problem.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
the rulebook.
Usually a problem with Awakened Realms games. Either Fields, we almost stopped playing during the first game because we didn't understand anything, because the rulebook was extremely bad, and there was a tutorial which didn't make sense if you didn't know the rules, and the rules didn't make sense if you didn't play the tutorial. But then when you got into it, it was really smooth. And I had kind of the same problem with this game. With this rulebook, it's getting better. This rulebook is better, so hopefully for ISS Vanguard and beyond, it's going to be even better. It's hard to make good rulebooks. Like, that is one of the hardest things to do, but it's so important. And the biggest problem with this rulebook is that there's almost no pictures. There is some pictures, but most of them is just a picture of something, and it doesn't make that much sense. A couple of pictures have numbers telling you what they are, but they're actually kind of wrong. And then there's just like, this is something that's a big problem for me. I don't know how most people feel like it, but this rulebook basically tells you the setup, that makes sense, and then it tells you what every single thing in the game does, which is okay. What the different cards does, but then you come to the basic rules. And here it doesn't make sense to me. Like, from the basic rules, it's just going to tell you all of the rules without telling you anything about how the game functions and how everything works together. For me, the best rulebooks are the ones which tells you how the game works, and then they tell you all the different details. Here you get all the details, and then after that, you get how the rules actually are put together.
Yeah.
For example, like all of the different location it tells you about. It's just like logistics center. That's a name. I don't know where that is because there's no name on that on the rulebook. So I have to go back to the start of the rulebook, looking at this big picture of the board and finding where is the logistics. Oh, it's there, and then going back and seeing it. So it's just like it's mostly actually now it's mostly the order and the setup of how the rules are put together.
Yes.
Most of what is in here makes sense.
Yeah.
Most, like I read it once, and the first time I played it, every time the first time I play a game, it's taking a bit of time. It was a bit of a hassle to get into it.
Yeah.
But then, when we played it the second time and onwards, it's actually a really smooth game, and I'm going to talk more about that too, because the rules make it feel more heavy than it actually is. Because the rules for the game isn't actually that hard. And then it always makes me sad that somebody's gonna read this and feel like, oh, this is super complicated, I don't understand anything. But if they had someone to teach them the rules and they would understand it, they would be like, oh, that's not that much. So it's always like if the rulebook is a hurdle, that's always sad for a game. But when you get past it, and from the second time we played, it was really no problem.
We have played this game with 2 and 3 players, and it's a long game. So we've used 2:45 on the 2-player game, and 3 hours, half an hour, 3.5 hours is the way you say that, with 3 players. I don't want to say that it overstays its welcome, because it doesn't. It is supposed to be a long game, but you have to be like prepared for it being that long. But I had fun the entire time with both player counts.
Yes, I do think that it's a long game. As you said, I don't think it's a long game. It is a long game. It's a very long game. But we play many games that are 2 hours. When it's reaching that 3.5 point time, it's getting to be a very long game.
Yes.
Like a 2.5 hour game is usually normal when you play like heavier, bigger Euro games. And this is a bigger Euro game. So I don't think it's a problem as long as you know that going in. Like if you sit down and you think it's going to be 1.5 hours, it's going to be probably a really horrible time, because you are going to feel like, oh, this is dragging. So it is a long game, but I do agree with you. It doesn't feel like it's too long.
No, I agree.
But it's all about preference, basically. So we have talked about the playtime and the rulebook and all of that, so let's talk about the gameplay, because that's where it's at. If the game is long and the gameplay is horrible, it's gonna be a horrible game.
Yes, so is it fun is the question. How is the gameplay?
How is the gameplay? So the game is played over 4 years, and each year has many steps. And this is basically not a gameplay, but this is one thing that is always bothering me in games. And this is not this game, this is every game. There's no reason, this is the publishers, there's no reason to not give people each of their own player aid.
Yeah, because we can choose to not use them if we don't want to, but we can't really choose to have a player aid that you don't provide us.
I shouldn't need to, and I've never done it, but I shouldn't need to go to BGG or photo scan my one player aid so people can know what's going on in the game. Especially when there's so many different areas or different phases. And I mean, like almost every single game. If the game is not like super simple, like if the game is on my turn, I play a card and I do the action, I don't need a player aid. But almost every single game needs a player aid.
Yes,
so this game has on the rulebook the flow of the game, which is over here. And that is quite a long list of things. You're not going to remember that. So that means that this has to be on the table in front of one of the players, and you have to work through it. It's like it's 3 plus 4 plus 2, which A and B and C and D, plus 4, 5, 6 different more steps. I shouldn't have to remember that. And then you also have this, which is your screen. And on the screen, I was thinking, oh cool, there's the player aid on the screen, but it's not. In the middle here, you have all of the cards that you have in your hand. So you can choose to either look at the cards in your hand or look at them behind your screen. Of course, you're not going to have all the cards in the hand for whole the game, but then you can just ask to look at the card, or you can look in the rulebook, like something like that. And those are easier to remember than the 15 steps here. I'm sorry for going on a rant, but this isn't just this game, but in a game, like I really felt it here because there's so many things going on. So I think I had to play it quite a few times before I remember, oh, this is the step. Oh, the overseer income step is then before discard shame tokens. Then there's a discard command card, reclaim command card step. And there's like remembering the order. And it's just annoying. I don't see why you just can't add that player aid to every player in the game.
I agree. I just think that it's really fun and that we just like, it's a gigantic rule book, but the game is really simple, but you need this player aid because of this and this and this and this.
No,
it's
but
not that simple.
I'm not saying the game is simple.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying the game has a nice flow and not that many rules to remember.
Yes, I agree. But the game itself has a very interesting twist on worker placement, because what everyone starts to do on their turn is to choose between some cards on their hand, and that dictates how many workers they have available for them this round, and some other effects as well. And there's a single attack card on your hand as well that you can use to attack because you're defending the Great Wall. And when I choose that, I also choose kind of what effects that my opponent can get, like extra effects, because the cards can have synergies with each other. Yeah. So you are invested in that choice.
That is kind of like the trying to think, what do you think the other players are gonna choose?
Yes, because if you play a certain card, then I get to place more workers with my cards. I love that. I also like how the worker spaces on the board are activated. That you have to fill up with workers before they activate. So you can have your workers standing there for a long time, or some activates every round. I think that is cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's mostly the resource income space and a couple of more spaces.
Yes.
And it's really cool. It's kind of like a cooperative thing. I'm trying to set it up so that I hope that you're going to go and fill in that last space.
Yes.
Because you don't want to fill the whole space yourself, because then you're going to get a lot of resources, but you're going to get shame tokens, which might be negative points at the end of the game.
Yes.
So you want to be in a position where I'm saying, okay, I hope you're going to go in there and get maybe one less gold than me, but you also get the goal that you are obviously needing to do the other action that you chose to do. And that is really cool. You add that little semi-co-op thing. Yeah. With especially like the one thing is filling up, you could do that yourself, but then adding that shame token mechanism makes it even tougher, because you don't want those negative points. Depending on the strategy you have, it's going to be easier or harder to get rid of those. But it feels then like it doesn't really feel like a worker placement game, even though it feels like a worker placement game.
Yeah, it feels very co-op-y, as you said. When I'm placing my workers and I know that you're going to place yours, I'm thinking, okay, what resources do you need right now? Can I jump on the actions that I think you want to do, so that both of us get activated? And also turn order, I felt was really important in this game, because then you get to pick resources first, or build buildings first with the resources available, and pick the cards first, so you have many. And you also win ties, which is huge in this game. So being the first player is big.
Yeah, there's a lot of timing in this game, and before we talk a bit more about that, let's talk about the player powers.
Yes.
Because in this game, everybody's going to have a general which has like a main player power, and then you can get advisors that have different player powers as well. And every time you get an advisor, you can choose it to be an active advisor, which has a special effect on it, or it can be a supporting advisor, which basically you flip it upside down and you tuck it under your general to make your main powers stronger.
Yes.
And depending on what kind of strategy you play, you're going to end up doing these things differently. And everything here feels OP. Like everything is super, super good. And you can get some really nice combos going. And that doesn't mean you're going to instantly win the game if you get a better combo. It doesn't feel like that. But I really love having different playing powers, because you're going to play differently the times you play. And I really love both the generals and the advisors in the game.
Yes, I agree. And by having those powers, you feel like you're you're doing awesome things, and that really adds to the game experience. And also the end game goals are adding to the replayability as well, because you change up how your strategy will be depending on what is available, what advisors you're going to get, because there's a lot of advisors, and that changes up how you play your game.
Oh yeah, I feel like there's different strategies you can go for.
Yes.
And they feel pretty viable, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think the main strategy is like focusing heavy on attacking and also by building the wall. But you can also like do both, and you can also do not a lot, but that is the two things to go for in this game.
Yeah, I feel like that as well. And there's like different sub-strategies of that. Like if you play the games 10 times, you're going to find those better than we have been able to.
Yeah.
One thing that annoys me, this is the same criticism as I had for Merchant Co. And other games, is that there are endgame artifacts in the game that scores for different things, and there's 5 of them in the game.
Yeah, they
and you
should
use
have
3 of them in each game.
and there's more in the expansion, but they should have added some more to the base game as well, I think.
Yeah, if you had added 5 more cards,
we'd be happy.
that would have been really, really well. I'm not going to go into a huge tangent on that, but it's just like one thing that annoys me a lot.
Yes.
One thing I have to say, like, we talked a bit about that now with the different strategies and stuff like that. I feel like the games we have played have felt differently.
Yeah.
Like, one of the games we built a lot of walls, and then you don't have to be so heavy on the attacking, because this is kind of like a semi-co-op-ish game. You want to not everything, because if you don't, like, you have the different horde cards coming in and they have numbers on them, even if they get in, it's going to be negative for most people. So you could either just try to do it so it's not negative for you and negative for other players, or you could try to prevent it, because that's going to probably score you points. So you're trying to do this thing that everybody wants to do, but you want to do it better than the other players.
Yes. Yeah, and that makes sense. And it felt also a little different with 2 players and 3 players. Both player counts were fine in my opinion. But if I would prefer something, I would absolutely choose to play the 3-player game. I would not be sad if I were mostly playing 2-player games and I would own this game, but I think that my favorite player count is 3 players.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about the 2-player version though, because there is a version.
Yes.
You need to use a dummy player. And if you would ask me 2 years ago if I would touch something that's a dummy player with a stick, I would say no. But I played a couple of dummy player games and they were really good, and I feel like they're getting better. Because if it's super simple to manipulate, if it's super simple to use, then it works really well. And I would say that it works really well here. You can, it's going to have a couple of workers on the board. You can manipulate them basically. Trying to manipulate turn order is almost even more important in a 2-player game. To be able to manipulate those clerks and to be able to trigger things that you really want to trigger at the right point.
Yes.
And they're going to attack to help a bit with that. So you're going to choose ready attacks. You can maybe use that so that you can place the last thing on attack card, but because you have some tactic cards, most of them are going to be like, when you place the last on a card, you can get some bonuses. And there's so many ways. So I think the 2-player demo player version works really good.
Yes.
It was... I would rather play with a live human being, but it didn't really diminish the fun or the thinking or the
feeling of interaction.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that was actually quite surprising, because it is a high interaction game.
Yeah.
It's not a direct conflict game in any ways, but it's high on interaction all the time.
Yes. We're jumping kind of towards the final thoughts now, I feel like.
And the question is always, is it fun?
I like it a lot.
Yes.
I think it's really fun. I think it takes the worker placement mechanism, which I really enjoy, into kind of a new direction that I liked. And it feels unique in our collection.
Yep.
I also like the setting of the game. I feel like really responds well to the mechanisms. I think it fits. I really like the individual player powers and the powers you can get throughout the game. It changes up how you play, and also the balance between getting resources and defeating the enemies, which can be sometimes a little hard to balance, because you're sitting there like placing the workers and oh, there's hordes coming to get us, and we haven't built any walls. We're just building up our special powers, and we need to hurry. I think this is a great game. I think this might be one of my favorite games of this year.
So far?
So far, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Yeah, this is a fantastic game. I absolutely agree with everything you said. Of course, it's sad that the rulebook is not up to par. It's sad that it's going to be harder to play it because of that. And other than that, I think that I don't have that many negative things to say. I went through a couple of like graphical design choices, the player rate and all of that. But I'm not going to take it down because the enjoyment of play is not, for me, diminished by that when I've gotten to play it a couple of times. We've got the all-in pledge, so we have expansions that I would love to play because now we have only played a base game and I feel like I could play it more. There is a lot of things to do here. I think that, yeah, I think this is a really good game, and even though it feels like a Euro game, it feels like a fresh, different kind of Euro game.
Yeah.
And I think that like it's super tense. The interaction here is really good. The timing of getting to do this and squeeze it out, trying to go in and get the thing you want right in front of your nose.
Yeah.
Doing all of that without being like a direct conflict game because you are attacking, but you're only attacking a different force that's coming to try to kill you all. So I agree with you. I'm going to give it an 8.5. It's a fantastic game. I really, really recommend it if you can get past those few hurdles to get into the actual
a long game
gameplay.
like this to the table.
It's also very long,
it's a long
which
game.
is going to make it harder to get to play again.
Yes.
But it is a very good game. And that is the end of the review. If you are still here and you have not subscribed, you can do it by clicking
the subscribe button.
Yes, it's free and it's fun. If you want to do something that's
now.
not free, you can go to patreon.com/boardgamingramblings and help us out there. And that's the end of the video.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Cinema.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.